It was a bitterly cold evening in Chicago. The wind cut through coats and scarves like glass. The sidewalks glittered with frost, and people hurried along, heads down, shoulders hunched, trying to get home. Amidst the bustling rush of the city, a man named Daniel sat hunched on a bench outside Union Station. His coat was threadbare, his gloves had holes, and the only thing keeping his hope alive was the photo of his daughter in his pocket. Daniel hadn't always been homeless. A few months ago, he was a high school teacher, a well-respected literature instructor who quoted Whitman and Frost with a passion that lit up his classroom. But life has a way of turning quickly. After his wife died in a car crash, Daniel spiraled into depression. He started missing classes. He couldn't sleep. Eventually, the school let him go. Medical bills, therapy that didn't work, and a few bad financial decisions led him to where he was now, on the streets, with nothing but a duffel bag and a photo. He watched people pass, hoping someone would spare $1 or even a smile. Most didn't. Some looked away, others seemed to pretend he didn't exist. Just as Daniel prepared to find a shelter for the night, a young woman stopped. She wore a red beanie and carried a tote bag full of books. She looked at him, really looked, and then offered him a warm sandwich. "Are you hungry?" she asked. Daniel nodded. His voice cracked from the cold and disuse. "Thank you. I'm Maya," she said, sitting beside him. "My dad used to tell me that we should never walk past someone who might need help. Not if we can stop." They talked. Maya was a graduate student studying social work. She didn't have much herself, but she carried care packages in her tote for people she met on the street. Socks. Food. Water. Hand warmers. That night, her small gesture made Daniel feel seen again. She gave him the address of a local shelter that didn't turn people away and encouraged him to go. That night was the first time in months Daniel slept in a warm bed. Maya came by the shelter the next day, and the day after that. She brought books. They read poetry together. She encouraged him to speak with the staff counselor. Slowly, Daniel began to open up. The words he hadn't said in months began to flow. He cried. He laughed. And with Maya's help, he started healing. Weeks passed. Daniel found a temporary job at a bookstore. The owner, impressed with his knowledge of literature and his gentle demeanor, hired him full-time. Daniel saved every penny. He contacted his daughter, Emma, who had been living with her aunt in Seattle. They cried on the phone for hours. She told him she loved him. That she missed him. That she never stopped believing he would come back. By the time spring touched the city with its pale warmth, Daniel had rented a small room, started saving for a plane ticket, and volunteered at the shelter where he had once stayed. Maya had become like a daughter to him, and together they organized weekend workshops in poetry and storytelling for the shelter residents. One rainy afternoon, Maya didn't show up. Daniel waited at the shelter, then at the bench outside Union Station. Nothing. A week passed, and no one had seen her. Then one day, a letter arrived at the bookstore addressed to Daniel. Dear Daniel. I never told you much about my health. I didn't want to burden you. I was diagnosed with a rare autoimmune condition 2 years ago. It was stable, or so we thought. But a few weeks ago, I started to feel worse. I'm in the hospital now. My mom's with me, and we're fighting it together. I just wanted you to know how much your friendship has meant to me. Seeing you rise again gave me strength. If I never told you before, thank you for reminding me what kindness can do. Don't stop. Keep giving. Keep loving. And if you can, visit me. Love, Maya. The hospital was across the city. Daniel took 3 trains and walked 6 blocks in the rain. When he reached Maya's room, she looked frail but smiled the moment she saw him. You came, she whispered. Of course, I did, he replied, sitting beside her and taking her hand. Over the next month, Daniel visited daily. He read to her. They laughed. Sometimes, they cried. But Daniel was determined to return the kindness that had brought him back to life. Then, one morning, Maya woke up to a surprise. Her hospital bills had been anonymously paid in full. She never found out who did it, but the hospital staff said the payment came with a simple note. For Maya, who reminded the world what one small act of kindness can do. Maya recovered slowly. When she was discharged, she and Daniel co-founded a non-profit called Second Light, aimed at helping homeless individuals transition back into society through literature, mentorship, and community care. They spoke at schools, community centers, and even at Daniel's old high school, where he was welcomed back with a standing ovation. Years later, when asked about their journey during a radio interview, Daniel said, "I thought I had nothing left. No one saw me. And then someone did. Just one act of kindness. One person who stopped to care. It saved my life. And now, we get to pass that miracle on, every single day." The host asked, "Do you believe kindness can change the world?" Daniel smiled. "No. I don't just believe it. I've lived it." And somewhere in the audience, a young listener, feeling invisible and lost, heard those words and made a promise to herself, to never walk past someone in need. To stop. To help. To be the miracle someone else might be waiting for.